Hello everybody, it's Pat at Beads and Plenty More, and today we're going to work on making a pendant that looks like this. What I want to teach you on this is how to enclose a small stone. This is a diachroic glass. This is what it looks like. This is a slightly smaller one, but we've got a tiny little bead that we want to be able to hold inside some wire, and it's flat on the back and very pretty on the front. So what we're working with is square wire, and I use a 21 gauge square and a 21 gauge half round, which is this one, and also we're going to need 28 gauge wire for the weaving part. So the square wire is what goes around the outside, and we use the half round, which is like it's got a dome on it, so that works really well for binding. And we bind these wires together, and then the weaving is this part here. So we'll get started and let's see what we can do. I've got 3 wires that are 10 inches long of the square pre-cut, and I'm going to take one of these wires, divide it in half, and or close to half is good. And I want to twist it across like that to create a nice little hook that's going to be at the very bottom of my pendant here. So we do that and kind of straighten that out a bit, bring it back, and it's going to just stay there. Now these are going to go back around. Now this is going to be my center piece of the 3 wires. So we'll take the other 2 and lay one on each side. Kind of figure out my middle, put one on each side like so. Get these lined up so that they all work into a nice grouping. And take some little clamps and hold that down so that it stays that way. And this one, I want to keep that down there. Get that like so, so that I've got that center one just tucked right into the bottom there, not too far down, just enough that what happens with this is that the weaving part on the side is going to come down and hook in there, so I need something to hook into. Okay, so we're going to clamp that on this side too so that I've got it held. So I've got my 3 wires with that one with the little dip that I made in the center of the other 2. And these 2, one on each side of that wire, are going to form a little cradle at the bottom to hold my stone. So now that I've got these set up, I want to make sure they're nice and even, sitting nice side by side. And I'll take my half round wire, putting the dome side out, and I'm going to put a binding on each side here. So I start with one here. I made a hook on the wire, and then I'm going to wrap. Give it 4 wraps. 1, 2, that's 3, and 4. And I want these to sit right nice close together. Give them a tug to make sure they're nice and snug. Tighten up that first one because it always is a little bit looser. Then I go in with my chain nose pliers and I want to crimp this down so that stays in place. So that's called a binding. We've done that on other things that I've done, but we'll do it again on this one because that's a very good method of, and just clip away my ends of my half round wire, and I'm going to flatten down the little clippy pieces that are left over. Bring that up and around. Down nice and tight. And that one. Sometimes if pliers don't work, fingers work better. So go ahead and do that, and then we're going to do exactly the same thing on the other side. Make a nice little binding there. Always with my hook, always helps. So, and do 4 wraps. So that's the first one. 2, and keep them side by side. That's very important. 3, and the 4th one. Again, we'll tug that first one to make sure it's nice and tight. And make sure they're sitting all nice and even. Go ahead and crimp. And we will go ahead and then cut away these excess pieces here. And tuck those down. And just tidy that up. This is the inside. Okay, so oh, that one's just sticking out a little bit. Give it another squeeze. And so is this one. There, got that nice and tidy. So I can take the clamps off. And now I'm going to shape this so that it's going to have my little cradle at the bottom here. Just move those open just a bit so that my stone's going to tuck right inside there, like that. And then I want to bring these wires up to form the top side of the... I'm going to take them and crisscross them so that they don't interlock. Bring one across that way and one across that way. Tuck the stone in to make sure it's sitting where it should.
Well, I've got to take the steps to go over there, so.
There we go. So that's sitting about right. Make sure I've got it in there in the right place. Measure where I'm at. And then I'm going to make tucks on these so that they will form the top of my unit. So once again, I want to check that I haven't made that too small for my little stone, because it is quite small. It's looking about right. I'm going to just straighten these guys out a bit so that they belly out just a little bit more. Okay, so now I'm going to take my half round wire again and go around the top here to do a binding on these wires. And we'll give them a crimp to keep them nice and snug. And this time I'm going to leave this wire hanging because it's going to be used to attach my bail at the end. So now, up here at the top I have 6 wires. And they each have a purpose. 2 of them will become the bail. 2 of them will be the frame for the weaving. And 2 of them will come down and be one on the front and one on the back of my little stone. I have a piece there that didn't get tucked down. There, that looks better. So, stone goes back into the spot where I've made for it there. It's a little bit tight, but that's okay. Better tight than loose. Actually, I'm going to move these out just a bit. Doesn't need to be quite that tight to fit. That sits in there nicer now. So these 2 wires on this side are going to come down and be the ones that go one on each side of the stone. So I'll put one to the back, one to the front. And we're going to do a gentle roll with that. I've got more than enough wire, which is always a good thing to have. And this side will do the same. We'll just do a nice gentle roll. And of course, before I can finish anything, I have to put the stone back in. Make sure it's going to sit where it's supposed to. And we'll snug it up on both sides. And I've got too much wire, so I'm going to clip that away. And with my round end, we'll bring that into a nice curl at the end here. Like that. Round on, same on this side. We've got a little bit of excess wire, which I always like to have, never want to run out. And I'm going to use my round nose pliers just to tidy this up in the middle. There, so my stone is all enclosed in there. I can get rid of that one end of that half round wire because I'm only going to use the long end, not the short end. Cut that away and then just give my flat nose pliers in to give it a good. Okay, so we've got our stone enclosed and I'm ready to do the weaving part that I have down the side here. So I'm just going to curve that a bit. I always, whenever doing any weaving, I like to have way more than enough wire because it's very hard to keep your sides even if you're coming right to the end of the wire. So we will go ahead and cut off some of this wire. There's my end. I think I got the wrong end. It'll work. So with the weaving wire, I want to take about a yard or a meter, a good amount, because it's difficult to join. So we want to make sure we have enough. So there we are. Put the pliers out of the way. So to start the weaving, I'm going to leave a tail and I'm going to wrap through, give it 3 wraps, 2 and 3. So that's the start, just a binding to hold that together. Then I'm going to go across to the other side and I'm going to do 3. 1, 2, and 3. And over to the top side, 1, 2, 3. To the bottom side, 1, 2, and 3, and across. 1, 2, and 3, and over. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I'm going to pause now and I will finish doing the amount that I need to get down to here, and then I'll show you how to finish up all the ends. Now as you're doing this weaving with the fine wire, you want to keep pushing it back to make sure it's nice and snug so that it looks really tidy. Okay, I'll be back in a bit. Okay, I'm back and I've got the weaving all done down the side. And what I'm going to do now is to take the loose ends here and I'm going to poke them through that little loop that I made at the very, very beginning, so that my wire should be just enough to come down. Oops, my stone decided to take a run. Okay, we'll cinch you back in a little bit better there. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is take these wires that come through that circle and I'm going to bring them back up alongside of the weaving. which kind of frames the weaving. Bring them up right alongside of the weaving like that. Get them sitting nice and flat. There we are. So then they are going to now hook into the bail, which I haven't made yet. But this one, okay, so I've got this excess here, and this one is where we started. I'm going to just take my chain nose pliers. I'll cut that away first, and take the chain nose pliers and give that a pinch to make sure that's sitting tight there and won't loosen up. Okay, now to make the bail, I wanted to keep this so I can cinch the bail down. We're going to take the bail and we're going to run it to the back. I've got wires that are way too long to make the bail, but we'll go ahead and make it out of what we have, and I'll trim them off. So just wrap them around like so. Give a nice little bail there. And then I'm going to cut those wires away. Make sure I don't get that one in there. And I'm going to tidy up those ends by doing a little twist on them. I'm going to turn this one out this way. And this one we'll do the opposite, to go that way. Come out of there, just to make a nice little curve. And then I'm going to keep using this wire to go around. That's my half round wire. And I'm going to use it to cinch those down nice and tight. Get around the corner there. Oh, I don't have them sitting level. There, I want them nice and level. We'll run that around one more time. I don't need quite so much. Can never have enough pliers. So I will run this through here one more time. And just draw it up nice and snug. And again, another one I can just clip away. Always clip away from yourself, of course. And now, these guys that are coming up, these stiff wires, I'm going to bring them up and hook them into the bail, just to finish them off. Have them sit nice and even. And they don't need to be quite so long either. I'll wrap that around. So I still have this long piece of my weaving wire, which I was going to see whether there's any place that we need to hold anything down. This our stone seems to be a little bit wiggly at the back, so we'll bring this piece down, keep it centered there, but I'll bring it into a curl, but I'll bring the weaving wire up to hold that down better. Whenever you're doing any kind of weaving, and if you see some place that's not sitting down nice and solid, all you need to do is work with your weaving wire to cut away the excess, and we'll just bring that down and around. Come up through both my wires. There we are. And then it should come under this piece. And that should hold it down a little bit more solid. And I'll tighten that up with my chain nose pliers, give it a good hard pull. Cut away my excess. And we have a pendant with featuring your swirl to hold your stone in on each side and wire weaving down the side. Hope you enjoyed that. Bye for now.